How did one man go from working as a bouncer and sleeping in his car to becoming the greatest heavyweight in the world, a Mexican-American icon, and wrestling for the WWE? And then how did that same man find himself in a jail cell being locked away without bail? Cain Velasquez was born July 28, 1982, in Salinas, California, to Efrain and Isabel Velasquez. Cain's father emigrated illegally from Sonora, Mexico. Efrain was a very determined man, having been deported 6 times in all 6 attempts to make a better life in the U.S. But on his 7th attempt, he met Isabel in Arizona, and they began a relationship, eventually getting married, which allowed Efrain to attain U.S. citizenship. Cain grew up in Yuma, Arizona, where Cain attended school. Cain dreamed of being a boxer early on, but his family's financial struggles led Cain to settle for wrestling in junior high. Cain found inspiration from his father, admiring his hard work and determination. You could see this early on as Cain became the captain of both the wrestling and football team in his senior year of high school. Cain would amass a record of 110-10 in high school, winning the 5A wrestling championship twice. After high school, Velasquez attended Iowa Central Community College for 1 year, where he won the NJCAA National Championship at heavyweight. He then would transfer to Arizona State University, where he began wrestling at a D1 level. Cain wrestled for the Sun Devils for 3 seasons, compiling a record of 86-17, placing 5th in the country in 2005, 4th in 2006, and winning the Pac-10 championship in 2005. Cain graduated from Arizona State University with a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies. After college, Cain immediately began training MMA at American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose, California. Cain began working as a bouncer in San Jose to make some money, and this is when his dedication truly started to show. Cain's house was a 2-hour drive from the American Kickboxing Academy, so he would occasionally sleep in his car to save time. Quote, "Sometimes I wouldn't want to go all the way home, so I wouldn't. The next day my mom would ask, 'Where'd you stay?' I'd tell her, 'Oh, I stayed at a coach's house,' but I'd actually sleep in my car a lot. I'd be parked outside the Home Depot across the street and then get up whenever it was time to train." Cain said his family was never too keen on him fighting and always wanted him to use his degree in interdisciplinary studies to become a teacher. But shortly after he began training, Cain made his MMA debut on October 7, 2006 at Strikeforce Tank vs. Puntello. Cain faced just that guy. Cain won that fight by first round TKO, and his next fight would be for Bodog fight in St. Petersburg, where he finished an undefeated Jeremiah Constant in again the first round. After this, Cain got his call from Dana White. Cain made his UFC debut just 2 fights into his mixed martial arts career, facing Brad Morris, once again ending the fight in the first round. Cain would start his career 6-0 with 5 TKOs with wins over Jack O'Brien, Dennis Stojnik, Czech Congo, Ben Rothwell, and Antonio Nogueira.
Oh, look at that cover! Nogueira's down! Velasquez looking to finish! It is all over!
This blazing hot start would set Velasquez up for a shot at the UFC Heavyweight Championship. Velasquez got a title shot against the biggest star in the UFC at the time, former WWE, now UFC superstar Brock Lesnar.
Out of control. Cain Velasquez eats an he throws knee to the body. Lesnar's in big trouble.
Velasquez put on a vicious pace, completely outclassing the champion Lesnar. After the stoppage, you could see in the emotion all that hard work had finally paid off. After the win, Cain required surgery on a torn rotator cuff and was sidelined for upwards of a year. He was scheduled to make his return against Junior Dos Santos at UFC on Fox 1. Cain would face the first roadblock in his career in the form of a first-round KO to the hands of Junior Dos Santos only 1 minute and 4 seconds into the fight.
Junior Dos Santos is the new UFC Heavyweight Champion of the world!
It was revealed afterwards that Cain had re-injured his rotator cuff in preparations for the fight, but nevertheless, after the loss, Cain was scheduled to face Frank Mir. However, Mir moved up to fight JDS as Alistair Overeem was suspended for elevated testosterone, and Velasquez would instead fight Antonio Silva. Velasquez massacred Silva in 1 round, and the UFC scheduled a rematch with Dos Santos for UFC 155. Velasquez absolutely dominated Dos Santos, winning 50-45, 50-44, and 50-43 on the scorecards, and becoming the first fighter to land triple-digit significant strikes and double-digit takedowns, with 111 significant strikes and 11 takedowns.
UFC Heavyweight Champion of the World,
Cain would go on to defend his title 2 more times, with a first-round TKO over Antonio Silva again, and a 5th-round TKO in the rubber match with Junior Dos Santos. Cain was then scheduled to coach the inaugural installment of the Ultimate Fighter Latin America with Fabricio Verdum, and the two were scheduled to face off at UFC 180. But after an MCL injury, Velasquez was forced to reschedule for UFC 188 in Mexico City, Mexico. After a back-and-forth battle, Verdum would submit a fatigued Velasquez. After the fight, Velasquez cited only coming up 2 weeks before to acclimate to the 7,300-foot elevation as being the main issue. Meanwhile, Verdum spent upwards of a month acclimating. Cain and Verdum were scheduled to rematch February 6, 2016, but was cancelled after both fighters cited injuries. Cain would instead face Travis Brown at UFC 200, finishing him in the closing seconds of the first round. Another rematch with Verdum was scheduled for UFC 207, but Velasquez was not approved to fight by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. But Cain did not do himself any favors. After an ESPN interview with Brett Okamoto on December 21st, he said that he, quote, couldn't stand up for more than 10 minutes at a time.
Dana, when you're a fighter and you do an interview days before a fight and say, you can't stand for 10 minutes, that's insanity.
Velasquez would take more than a 2-year hiatus, returning February 17, 2019 to headline UFC on ESPN 1 against the now heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. Velasquez would close as a -170 favorite, but just like his last network debut, Cain would be brutally finished in the first round, injuring his knee in the process. And on October 4th, 2019, Velasquez would withdraw from the USADA testing pool to focus on his new career. Velasquez announced his retirement from MMA officially on October 11, 2019. After fighting, Cain started diving into a world that he was always a fan of as a kid, the world of pro wrestling. Reports of his transition first started when he trained at the WWE Performance Institute in July of 2018.
Been a fan of the sport since I was a little kid. Now I get to participate in it, so it's great that I have all this accessible to me.
In March of 2019, after his fight with Ngannou, Velasquez debuted for Lucha Libre AAA Worldwide, donning a lucha mask. He would later premiere for WWE on SmackDown in October of 2019, accompanied by Rey Mysterio and attacking the then champion and former opponent Brock Lesnar. Velasquez was going to be used in the Royal Rumble before an injury forced those plans to be scrapped. He would eventually be released on April 28, 2020 due to the COVID-19 related budget cuts. Velasquez announced his return to AAA Wrestling for their December 4th, 2021 show. This would be Velasquez's last showing in professional wrestling.
Ultimate Fighting star Cain Velasquez.
Former UFC champion Cain Velasquez.
MMA icon Cain Velasquez.
UFC heavyweight champion and WWE star Cain Velasquez.
On February 28, 2022, Cain Velasquez was arrested on charges of attempted first-degree murder, 1 count of shooting at a motor vehicle, 3 counts of assault with a firearm, 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of willingly discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and 1 count of carrying a firearm with intent to commit a felony. Cain had shot at Harry Goularte Jr., who had just been priorly arrested on charges of child sexual abuse at a daycare one of Cain's relatives attended. It was reported Goularte may have assaulted her, quote, 100 times. He was released on bond, and 3 days later, Velasquez allegedly chased a vehicle containing Goularte, his mother, and his stepfather. Velasquez allegedly rammed the vehicle before pulling out his firearm and attempting to shoot Goularte through the window. The attempt unfortunately missed, instead hitting his stepfather, causing a non-life-threatening injury. Cain was arrested and held without bail, and on March 7, 2022, Cain was denied bail, citing, quote, "The risk is too great." Velasquez received 37 letters of support presented to the judge, from names including Dana White, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Fabricio Verdum, Kelvin Gastelum, Henry Cejudo, Daniel Cormier, Islam Makhachev, and Scott Coker, just to name a few. Hashtag Free Cain swarmed the internet with supporters from MMA fans worldwide. On May 16th, Velasquez was denied bail a second time, with the judge citing his, quote, reckless disregard for human life. As of now, Cain has a plea hearing scheduled for June 30th, 2022, as the man who allegedly assaulted his family member still walks the streets. So now, one of the greatest rags to riches stories, one of the greatest fighters of a generation, sits in a jail cell due to, in my opinion, a true failure of the justice system. A young boy from Yuma, Arizona pursued his dream through hard work and determination, only to have his life put on hold due to a predator being let free on the street. At the end of the day, Cain's story is inspirational, and while his actions were rash, I think that I speak for almost everyone when I say, hashtag Free Cain.